Hey everyone, Jack Reeve here, TalkNorwichCity, back for another video today. I hope you guys are all doing fantastically well. Might be a little bit browner, you might see that, you might not. I've been in Mallorca for a week, which does now mean I've got to quarantine for 2 weeks, which isn't ideal, but it does mean there's now more time to make videos. If this video today hits 400 likes, I will try my very best over the next 2 weeks to do daily uploads. 400 likes today and we'll try and get that sorted. Also, we've got a Ko-fi page. If you're not sure what that is, it's a donation service in which you can help with the running costs of the channel. I will link that in the description down below. Loads of you have already got involved, and I will send an email to everyone that does get involved with a little bit more information. Thank you all for that. It really does mean a lot. With that all said and done, let's get into today's video. Daniel Farke, he's come out to the Norwich City club channels and done an interview. We, of course, reacted to Stuart Webber's interview a couple of weeks ago, where he was talking about what went right, what went wrong, where we are now, how we move forward, and his kind of thoughts on the season. I think it's really important that figures at the club, and figures of great importance that Stuart Webber and Daniel Farke are, they are arguably the two most important people at the football club, what they thought of it, how they looked at it, and how we can move forwards. Because it's all well and good us fans speaking about it, but we're not seeing the behind the scenes, we're not knowing the exact mindset of how they looked at the season. Again, overall, reassured, and I think that's all people are looking for from these interviews. We're not looking for kind of groundbreaking lines or anything like that. We just want to feel reassured as football fans. We've just been relegated from the Premier League and we didn't really put up a fight at any point, and now we're going into a championship that we know all about. We know it's difficult, we know there's some really quality teams in that division, and it's not going to be easy to get back out of. So how do we go about it? And I think Daniel Farke summed it up fairly well. He said that he went into the season saying that we had a 5% chance of survival, and I think everyone was like, whoa, this is one, very honest, and two, slightly defeatist. That was my opinion. I thought, well, if you're saying that to the players now, then they're not going to be going into it with much faith. If your manager doesn't have faith in you, then neither are you. You want your manager to motivate you and get you going. And if they're saying that, well, there's a 95% chance that we get relegated here, then I don't know if I'm going to quite be fighting as much as I could do for my manager. Of course, Daniel predicted it right, and I think most fans thought there was little chance in Norwich surviving. The one thing we would have liked to have seen was a little bit more fight on the pitch, and I don't think that necessarily helped. I respect the honesty. I think the reason he calculated that kind of 5% chance, and he went into it in depth in the interview on the club's channels, as he said, we didn't spend money on transfers and we didn't really upgrade the squad. And that was because of a few different things. We had to pay off debts that we'd accumulated because we went out and spent too much money in previous seasons. And we also spent money on the infrastructure around the football club, investing into the academy, which was vitally important. And I think although you look back at Dave McNally's time, and whatever you think of Dave McNally, he helped the football club and he got us to a very high Premier League finish, certainly higher than what Stuart Webber has achieved. There's not much left of that, and I've been listening to a lot of Watford and Bournemouth fans speak, and they were saying Bournemouth are in a similar situation. They've been in the Premier League for 5 years, and yet there's nothing really to show for it, in a sense of the stadium hasn't improved, the training ground hasn't improved. There isn't necessarily more young players coming through now than what there were 5 years ago, and I think we'll look back at this time under Stuart Webber and Daniel Farke and go, yeah, Colney's actually a Premier League level training ground now. I'm not sure if any of you had been up to Colney before this redevelopment, but it was horrendous. Like, there were, the gym was a conservatory. The classrooms for the academy players were porter cabins. Like, it was terrible. And you went up there and you were like, this is not a Premier League football ground. Now, if you go up to it, it looks great. There's a state-of-the-art gym, the pitches are brilliant, there's floodlights, it's all really, really good. So that's a good thing, and I think Stuart Webber has always said he wants to leave the football club in a better place than it was before. And although Daniel Farke, that's not necessarily his job in terms of looking at the finances, he just wants a team that are playing stylish football, and hopefully he's best equipped to do that. But he almost went into in the interview and saying, well, I do have an eye on that as well. It would have been very selfish of me to have gone, I want 2 wingers, 2 strikers, centre-backs, and just splash 80 to 100 million pounds like Aston Villa did. And it worked for them. They stayed up. They achieved their objective of staying in the Premier League. But Danny was like, I could have done that and we may have stayed up, but would we have been better off for it? And for a club like Norwich, where your owners aren't pumping in money each and every season, the money that you make from TV revenue becomes all the more important, and the money you make from match day revenue becomes all the more important. You look at clubs in the Championship, even the likes of Wigan, who have now, of course, gone down into League One, but teams lower down in the Championship, their owners are pumping in tens of millions of pounds a season just to keep them afloat. That's not happening at Norwich City, and that's because off the pitch we're run very well. And I know as fans, it's really difficult in the moment to look at that. All we don't necessarily care about the balance sheets and all of this stuff when you're losing 3-0, 4-0 every week. But when you come back and take a bit of a moment and step out of it and you're slightly more emotionally level, this stuff is very important. And it also, on the pitch, allows us to hopefully attack things better next season. And that was another point from Daniel Farke. He said, when we get to the Premier League next time, not if, when, which I liked, we will be better equipped. We won't have to pay off debts because of mismanagement, or as he called them, sins, and I love that. We won't have to pay for a new training ground because it's paid for. All of these things, this legacy stuff is already there. When we next get into the Premier League, we can invest solely on playing assets, making sure that our defence is well equipped. And when asked why we didn't succeed in the Premier League this season, Daniel Farke's answer was pretty simple. He said the defence wasn't good enough. Injuries didn't help, VAR decisions didn't help. They're excuses at the end of the day. The quality in that defence weren't good enough. One, they lacked experience, and two, they hadn't been there in the Premier League and done it before. I think a bit of investment in the defensive line, with hindsight of course, would have been really, really valuable. And also the playing style wasn't necessarily suited to the Premier League as a lower team, a 20th place team. Often the teams that do well when they first come up are ones that are slightly more solid, concede less goals, maybe score less goals as well, but are just slightly more solid in the way they approach it. And I don't think that helped. And that's solely on Daniel Farke. He had the chance to change up the way we played, but he wasn't willing to do so. And I think that's admirable to a certain extent, if not stupid. But he stuck to his guns and it didn't work. The transfer policy, I think, is going to be very similar as well. He touched on players, maybe not working out. I can only have to look at the loan deals this season to note that a lot of them didn't work, if not all of them. I think the only kind of success of the season was Sam Byram, and I think hopefully he'll be a really big part of the Championship team next season. But I've always been slightly lenient on Stuart Webber and Daniel Farke, not always judging transfers right. I mean, for every Emi Buendia, there's a Marcus Edwards. For every Timu Pukki, there's a Josip Drmic. So the issue is we're fishing in a puddle, and I've said that before. There is not going to be massive £1 million signings because we just don't have the resource to do that. And when you are fishing around for 100k, 200k, £750,000 deals, free deals, loan deals, not all of them are going to work. So I'm slightly more lenient. But when one of them does work, that's amazing. And it was that compilation of all of them different assets in the Championship last time out that meant we were back in the Premier League. The likes of Stiepermann, Vrancic, Tribal, Pukki, Buendia, and then bedding in the Godfreys, the Lewises, the Aarons. It just worked so well, and we now have to find another way of doing that because it's not going to work for a second time. I can't see Mario Vrancic, Marco Stiepermann, Tom Tribal, even Timu Pukki to a certain extent, either one, not being here, or two, just not putting in the performances that we were so used to. And that's why it's so important to get our transfer business done quickly, and we are seeing that now. Dow, McCallum, loads of these players, Porheta, coming in quickly, and I see them being in the first team next season. So I'm sure there's going to be more of them deals. We're also going to see a lot of players leave, and I think that's a good thing. The one big thing that is stuck in my head, how do you get this negative energy out of the place? We are going into the Championship off the back of 10 straight defeats. Stuart Webber has said the manager won't be changing, and to get rid of a culture that's so negative and so toxic at the moment almost, you have to change something, and that's going to be the playing staff. You need to bring in talent, you need to bring in fresh ideas, and I think the only way you do that is through a complete rebuild, which we are already seeing, and who knows if it will work. I'm hoping it will. It could seriously backfire, but I, for one, am willing to give it a chance. I think Daniel Farke is the right man to take us into the Championship next season. I also think it's the first season under his reign that there is serious expectation now. Norwich City fans will be expecting a top 6 finish, and I think they are very much within their rights to expect that. So if we have a slow start, and if we haven't won many games in the first 10, then I can see the trigger being pulled and Daniel Farke being replaced. But if he starts fast, and I think we've got a very good opportunity to do so, then he could be the man to once again take us back to the Premier League. It's going to be a fascinating few weeks. I, for one, can't wait to see how we approach the Championship. We're already starting to see patterns align and a squad taking shape. But I know, for one, there's going to be a lot of these transfer videos on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. They're my thoughts on Daniel Farke's interview. I'm sure you've already seen it. If you haven't, it's on Norwich City's YouTube channel. So head over there and give it a watch and let me know what you think. Do you think Daniel Farke's the man to take us forward, or do you think after 10 straight defeats and our lowest ever Premier League finish, Stuart Webber's well within his rights to sack him and find another man? Thanks very much for watching. 400 likes and we'll do daily uploads for 2 weeks. Ko-fi page down in the description below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.